So we're actually here to talk about the topic of black church. That sounds weird. Like it sounds like dark or something, yeah. Or evil or pessimistic. No, but just like church in general, I guess. Like we've had like little conversations about this like online and all that. But can you kind of give a little bit about like your church background? Like how were you introduced to church and everything?
Honestly, I don't think I was like introduced to it. It's kind of like an initiation, like because like I was kind of born into it. Like I think I was baptized when I was like 3 months old, so I really had like no idea what it was exactly. It kind of just like chose me. I didn't choose it. Yeah. I would go to church every Sunday religiously with my great grandma. We went to this church called First Baptist, and I guess that was like my first church home. I really didn't understand it, like I said, because I was so young. So the concept like went over my head extremely. But I remember loving the music. Like when the choir would start, it just took over me. That I felt. But as far as the message, not so much. So the introduction was kind of difficult because I had a lot of questions about it, and so that's how that went.
Do you feel like the questions, like whenever you had questions, did you ever like ask them like, oh, why is this way or that way, and like how were they received, if so?
Yeah, I always have a lot of questions. That's just me. Like I'd ask why the sky is blue, and you just be like, what? So when I did ask questions, sometimes I would get the answer, but most of the time it would just be like, this is the way it is, and I would just be like, oh, okay, kind of that sort of thing, and just like brush it under the rug.
Yeah, just forget that it's there and just like just go on with life. It's like I still see this bump on the rug, like it ain't gonna disappear.
Just go around it.
Right. Just forget it's there. Yeah, but I mean, you from like what you kind of like talked about, like I mean, from what I know, like you had like a lot of like legitimate and like still kind of legitimate concerns, like when it comes to like kind of the church that you kind of grew up with, or just church in general. Like one of them like being the problem with Jesus being like a white male, like both of those things being white and male, and like having to try to align yourself with who that is. I guess it sounds like
it's kind of being Baptist. It's hard to relate to this mediator that I was supposed to relate to, being that he was the opposite sex and looked the complete opposite of my skin tone. So it kind of made me self-conscious, especially like living in Nebraska. So it was just like both of these things. I didn't feel the self-love that I felt like I was supposed to feel. So that was definitely a struggle of mine. And then when I would ask why, that never got answered. It was just like, this is Jesus, and that's what it is.
Like never got answered at all. Like nobody even said like, oh, like I wonder why too. Like
no, it was just like, this is what it is, so deal with it type thing. So that was kind of hard because it was just like, okay, well.
Yeah, again, because like I mean, I think about it from my perspective of a male. Like if I was to tell a woman like you gotta like relate to this like male in a sense, like and like being able to like find yourself in him, it's hard. Tough.
It really is. I don't know how I really came to terms with it. I think just doing my research on my own, which wasn't even too long ago, probably like 3 years ago is when I really started researching hard into who exactly it was, and just studying the Bible more. Like it would confuse me when it would say like copper skin and hair like wool, and then I'd just be like, okay, this doesn't look like how this picture is, so what's going on here? So when I did that research, and it just helped me become more comfortable with myself and just the Bible in general, because it would kind of come together when I understood more what was going on.
So you said it made you more comfortable, like kind of like with the Bible, like being able to like seek out the questions and everything like that.
Yeah, when I did more research on my own.
Yeah, no, I think it's super unique as you say that, because some people like get taken to other places, like, okay, when I research this, it made me not believe it even more, and people think that's the narrative altogether. But like sometimes like you can look into things and like actually believe in like Christianity even more, but just take out the things that just don't. Really
because a lot of it, I feel like any religion, even if it's not Christianity, you're going to have to figure out what it is that you can relate to and kind of decide what route you want to go on your own. But to just follow a specific set of rules just strictly, it'll make you fearful of it. Like, just, I personally feel like if I couldn't like watch movies or wear makeup or, you know, just certain little things like that, even eating shrimp, I'd probably just be deathly terrified of life. So just to figure out what you're more comfortable with and research on your own, it'll make you, you know, cool with it.
It'll make you kind of adopt everything like much better. Mm-hmm. So like I'm really like interested in kind of like the researching process that you did and all that. Like you said, it was like 3 years ago, but like were there like certain things that you like researched? I guess like I'm like, okay, like I'm kind of questionable about this and that, but like what things did you kind of like research? I guess when it came to like.
First, I started with Jesus Christ, like the picture of him, because like I said, it really kind of like rubbed me the wrong way, just not being able to really relate to it and hearing nothing else about really anybody but him. So I researched the picture, and then one day on Facebook somebody shared this picture of this man. I can't remember his last name. It was like Julius something, but he was like a real person, like not like I wouldn't say mythical. I wouldn't say Jesus mythical, because I feel like he's an important ancestor, but like a Spanish man that was like really important, and they kind of like took his image and made it seem like it was Jesus.
Really?
Yeah. I really wish I knew the name. I could research on my phone.
So like the pictures that like we see now, like we're from like this. It's actually Julius, and they just made up like why?
Yeah, it was like Julius be Jesus. I'm so serious.
That is like that's super funny. Like I've never researched like the who like painted it and all that. I just always knew it's like, okay, this is not who it is, but
yeah,
that is hilarious.
So it definitely caught me off guard, and then I was like, okay, so I never really just like found a real picture of Jesus, of course, but they have like paintings and stuff like that, like old paintings of who they think that it is, but it kind of just made me feel a little better knowing that like my questions or my inquiries were kind of true, like this isn't him. So then I came across this documentary called Hidden Colors, and it kind of like helped answer more questions. Have you ever?
I just heard about that today from the first people that we interviewed. Actually,
cool.
They just told me about that, so I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that documentary. Actually.
It's really. I haven't watched all of them. I watched like the first phase. What? I can't even think of a word right now. Just the first part of it. It was really good. I was introduced to it in Oklahoma City by one of my history teachers, and at first I thought it was really boring. I'm like, why are we sitting here watching this? But after I graduated, I got to thinking like, hey, you know, maybe that was some really good information. I probably shouldn't have slept through that. So I went back and watched it, and it made me it helps a lot with like, I think, like I said, just feeling more comfortable in my own skin. Answered a lot of questions about where we come from and where certain things come from. Yeah, so Definitely. It was good. Check it out.
Yeah, so like also kind of like on the topic kind of like legalism, kind of like the legalism that's like very kind of like I should say just church in general, like they adopt this like sense of legalism of like the do not do this or do not do that, or this is terrible, this is secular, don't touch that, and all that. Like that was kind of like a part of your kind of like cynicism as well, like kind of that legalism, like church wise and everything, right? Like
yeah, because to me, not a lot of it, but some of it was really far-fetched, like wearing lipstick, or like I've even heard like men can't wear beards. So it was just confusing, and I was just like, where's all of this coming from? And then realizing from that documentary and other places that it was really just like man-made, most of it. Like another one of my teachers, he went to school for biblical theology or something like that. I don't want to like butcher the theory. But
like he went to like a seminary or something of
that sort. So he was saying how like the Bible, the actual title loosely translates to the books. So that kind of like lit a light bulb to me, like, oh, like of course it's just like a bunch of books some men came and put together. So kind of makes sense as to where like some of the rules come from. Maybe this is certain things that they felt really passionate about, but I feel like they really pushed their passions really hard to the point where it kind of made other people, well, me and myself, fearful of like following these certain set of rules. And if I didn't follow these rules, then I would like go to a fiery pit forever, and definitely didn't want that. So, yeah.
Wow. So like now, to like just today, like you now, like kind of like being somebody who's like okay with like questions and like has kind of like sought like these questions that you've had and all that, like, do you still like, are you involved in church like or anything like that, or like kind of what's your spiritual journey look like now? Like after
that's actually tough because I don't like, I kind of take from a lot of religions, like so I wouldn't necessarily say that I was religious because I'm not like set in stone in one religion, but I'm definitely a spiritual person. Like I've never really heard about like meditation and deep breathing and things of that such in church, but like if I research it, and like Buddhists do it all the time, so it's just like certain things that I take, like 7 chakras and different things like that, I kind of just take in and just adopt them to make my own kind of thing. So
no, seriously, no, I mean that's like my whole thing for sure. Like, so I resonate with that definitely. So like when you kind of like embarked on this journey and all that, and knowing that it was kind of like a thing that you were kind of like initiated into, again, like I would assume that you had like friends and family who were like closely like tied to like just all of that.
Pretty much like everyone in Nebraska went to church all the time. We all like had dresses, and you had to dress nice, and that sort of was difficult for me too, because like I'm like a tomboy, so wearing dresses and little frilly socks, it was hard. And then seeing everybody do this, and if you didn't dress a certain way, then you were kind of looked down upon, or like just people that were always like what is it? They would like spit verses at you, like if you made a mistake, which every human makes mistakes, but they would just like throw all this stuff at you, and it would be like, I feel like a great weight on my shoulders, like this burden that I have to live this sort of way, and if I don't, then you know what happens. So
no, definitely understand. Yeah, I guess like for me, like I've never experienced this. Like I want to get your take on this for sure, but like a lot of just kind of like your experience, do you feel like church almost kind of like, for lack of a better term, domesticated like women in a sense, like of kind of like the having the traditions of like being the nice, quiet, submissive like church girl, and like don't like be perfect in a sense? Like have you ever like felt kind of like a sense of like a patriarchy in that, I guess?
Yeah, I definitely felt a lot of pressure to be like the perfect woman in a sense, like, you know, crossing your legs when you sit. It was
you can really be individual, right?
Yeah, like I couldn't express my unique self. I felt like that I had to be in this sort of bubble like everyone else, and that was hard for me to deal with, being a creative and wanting to be an artist, like just painting different stuff I couldn't even do, I felt like. So it was definitely tough trying to do that, and not really hearing anything about the opposite sex in the Bible. It was really just like, you know, the woman submits to the man and blah blah blah. And so yeah, it wasn't the easiest task when I was growing up with that. So it made me like stray away from church for a while, because like if I did break a certain rule or commit a sin, then I felt that I was wretched, and you know, I would just be banished to hell, which I didn't really want to go to church anymore because I just felt unworthy or dirty, you know. So for a while, like I just didn't go to church at all. I didn't really pray or anything like that. And those were, I feel like, the darkest times, because I was so like confused. It was definitely a confusing thing.
Yeah, the very shaming too, like having like a guilt and shame factor for sure. So like with that too, like, because I'm kind of the same as you in that, like I feel like I'm more of a progressive, like in my faith, thinking of in the terms of like, if there's something over here like a Buddhist practice, like awesome, like I'll take that. Or like I don't see like this one compartmentalized like question being that, but like I know that like there's things from the culture, like of Christianity that I still value and that kind of like I've kind of held on to. Like I don't call it all bull crap because that would just be like silly, I think. But like, are there still things that you kind of cling on to like and value that were kind of pulled from that tradition? I guess in a sense.
Yeah, most definitely. Some of the underlying principles, like, not to envy others and using your body as a temple. There's so many things.
I was gonna say that the body and temple, that could be like, man, that's I can go into that like on.
Some of it is like a lot of it is really universal, like most of these things. So it's easy to take from this religion and this religion and mold it all together because it's just like a different way of saying the same things, just being kind to others, loving people, all people, being as one type thing. So, yeah. Yeah.
No, I dig it for sure. Well, that's time, actually. That was our conversation. So
cool.
We're good. Thanks again for coming. That was like
no problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it for sure.